All right, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. I am excited about this episode. I know I say I'm excited about every episode, but I really am, or else I wouldn't be doing this. This one, honestly, is about Corvettes. When's the last time I talked about Corvettes? So I have Adam Boca, and he's a Corvette expert and one of our sponsors. So be sure to stay tuned for this one. It's a lot of fun because I ended up, spur of the moment, each of us picking our favorite Corvette from each of the generations, all generations, which was not planned, but decided to do it anyways. A quick note on the book. It is out. It is official. It is right here next to me. So 400 pages. If you're watching online, I'm going to show you the spine here. This is something I decided to do. Is if you know the Corvette Grand Sports, they have these two little hash marks. It actually looks like the Haggerty H's, which was accidental. But when I was deciding on what color for the book cover to be, came up with black, which is really cool. But then the next book is about Porsches, the Enthusiast Guide to Porsches. And originally I wanted the colors to relate to the history of the car or the heritage of the car. So for Porsche, I was thinking about making the book Gulf Oil blue with the type in orange. But then I was like, well, what color would the Porsche be? And so what I decided to do is make all the books black, because this is the first of a series. And so it will be just like this book, but it will have probably a 930 Porsche on the cover, the Enthusiast Guide to Porsches. Hopefully it'll come out in October. And then for the hash marks, I'll do the hash marks as to reflect on the racing heritage. So the hash marks on the spine will be probably three of them, two Gulf Oil with the orange in the middle. That's where I'm leaning right now. There's a lot of cool colors for Porsche to pick from. But that gives me a little freedom. So when I do the book on Ferraris, I can have it the Italian flag, muscle cars. I haven't quite figured that one out yet. That might just be regular racing stripes. We'll see. But all that to say, the book is out. Like I said, 400 pages, much thicker than originally planned. Incredible response. If you would like your own copy, go to thecollectorcarpodcast.com and check it out. If you ordered a book, if you pre-ordered, those are all out. Those are all in the mail being sent to you. If you ordered this week, I will get these out tomorrow. And if you were a contributor or a sponsor, I will get those to you as soon as I can. Honestly, the first print run went to the pre-orders, the people who paid for books, and that sold out. And so I am going to send, if you contribute a quote, you get a free book. And if you're a sponsor, obviously, you get a free book as well. So I will send those probably mid-May, towards the end of May, just as soon as the next wave comes in. Now, I will be at Greenbrier this weekend judging and on a seminar talking about market trends, apparently, valuation trends. So that will be fun. And anyways, a lot of fun, cool stuff going on. I did do an unboxing video. I'm going to go ahead and play that right now. It's only 2 minutes. So take a watch here real quick of the actual official unboxing video where I go over some of the contents that are in the book. Listen to the sponsors. Please support them. And then we'll get to my interview with Adam Boca and the Corvette conversation, which was really nice and refreshing. All right, this is the unboxing video of my new book, The Enthusiast Guide to Collector Cars. So let's check it out. I got my handy knife here. Nice packaging. All right, here you go. The Enthusiast Guide to Collector Cars. All right, let's talk a little bit about what's in the book. So this is an example from Super and Hyper Cars. So I start with a quote from an expert, in this case, Freddy Tavares Hernandez. And then I go into what are the cars of the era, in this case, supercars and hypercars. I reviewed design and technology. I break it out by both the supercars and the hypercars, as well as what is the cultural influence at the time. And then I go back to what are the origins of supercars. And for this chapter, you have to go back to the Gullwing and the Miura, which I go into depth about both of those and why they're so integral to the origins of supercars and hypercars. And then I talk about some key collectible models, not every model, but the key ones. And then I go into some fun stuff, such as when Jaguar, the XJ220, actually beat Ferrari, but still lost from a marketing perspective. I cover why new enthusiasts should care about this era of cars, as well as the collector's ladder from entry level to middle market to blue chip icons. And then I talk about collector considerations. What does it take to own a supercar or a hypercar? I reviewed the timeline of the era with some key highlights. And then I focus in on one or two spotlight cars depending on the era. And then I finally end with auction highlights and record sales to kind of show how these cars are doing in the marketplace. And I close it with another quote from an expert, in this case, Supercar Blondie. So be sure to check out the book. You can order at the link below. If you're a collector, you already understand stewardship, preserving what matters, planning ahead, and passing things on the right way. That's exactly how Peristyle Wealth approaches financial planning. As the Ferrari Club of America's official wealth management partner, they help avid collectors who value resilience and attention to detail. And the founder, John Suarez, is active in the community. I've judged one of his cars before, and I see him at events all over the country. To learn more, go to peristylewealth.com. Peristyle Wealth advisory services offered through New Edge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
Every garage is a mirror of the mind that builds it. The garage becomes a quiet dialogue between who you are and what you craft. A garage is where work becomes meditation and solace, where mechanical truth becomes mental clarity. Some people go to offices, some go to mountains, others go to garages. At Metron Garage, we build for people who do all three. Give us a call to get started.
If you own a collector car, you already know it deserves more than a standard insurance policy. NCM Insurance specializes in agreed value coverage designed specifically for classic, collector, and enthusiast vehicles. From weekend drivers to serious collectors, they understand how these cars are used, stored, and protected. To learn more about protecting your collector car the right way, visit ncminsurance.com. Coverage built for the cars you care about. Every car in your garage tells a story, where it's been, how it's been maintained, and what makes it truly yours. Carport gives you a simple digital garage to document, organize, and manage your vehicles all in one place. Track service history, store important records, and keep your collection dialed in with confidence. From your daily driver to your dream car, Carport keeps everything in order so you're always ready for the road. And best of all, it's free to use and is 100% private. To learn more, go to carport.app. All right, well, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. I'm really excited to have Adam on board because he's doing a lot of cool stuff with the podcast and the book and the newsletter and all sorts of cool stuff. So I'd like to welcome Adam Boca. How you doing, buddy?
I am awesome, Greg. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast, and we have a lot of stuff to dig in right now. So if you would, tell me, first off, who you are, who you work for, and what services you provide, and then we'll get into some cool car stuff.
Absolutely. No, I'm Adam Boca, and I'm the CEO of NCM Insurance. NCM Insurance is part of the National Corvette Museum family of companies. So we created this agency about 18 years ago, and it has blown up into a one of the fastest growing collector vehicle agencies in the country. We insure close to 100,000 vehicles across the country, and not just Corvette. So even though we're owned by the Corvette Museum, we know that there are other opportunities and other amazing cars out there that we absolutely love to insure.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I appreciate that. You've been a long time listener of the podcast, and you actually reached out to me to, when I had the book coming out and I have some ads available, and I think you were the first person that said, yeah, that ad's cool. I want to be a part of it. But what about the podcast? I was like, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. No, if we could share our story and people can connect with us, and they might walk away, either they love us or they hate us after this podcast, but hopefully they'll love us. Yeah. Likewise.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. And yeah, so let's talk about that. So NCM, did that originally stand for National Corvette Museum?
It did. So I was an employee of the National Corvette Museum as one of our event coordinators. And we had built this relationship and in the knowledge base of Corvette and just other cars. And it was just a natural segment for us to hop into. We continued to get the question, who do you recommend for insurance? And sure, we recommended them to many other agencies or companies. And then it just clicked. There was a light bulb that said, wait, why not capture this opportunity and create another revenue stream for the National Corvette Museum? And so that is a lot of museums struggle with, financially figuring out how to make additional revenue to keep the lights on. But at that time, our executive director at the Corvette Museum, he was a visionary. He was phenomenal. His name was Wendell Strode. and he said, let's create our own agency. And what started as a one person agency, me, has now blossomed into, we have 16 incredible employees that grind all day long, and they listen to stories, and they listen to what keeps people excited about their automobiles, and then what they're hunting. And so that's a ton of fun to us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really good. And you're right. It is so hard to keep the lights on in a museum. Now, a lot of museums, not the National Corvette Museum, that's totally different. But a lot of museums, they start out as like a pet project. This is this guy's collection. How can I make it go on forever? Turn it into a nonprofit, try to get, um, supporters, that kind of stuff. But it is really a challenge. And I love the Corvette Museum. I've been there numerous times. I've been there before the sinkhole. I've been there after the sinkhole,
Yep.
and it is such an incredible setup. Now, isn't that home to the only 1983 Corvette ever made?
It is, yeah. So there's actually one and a half 1983 Corvettes,
Oh,
and
tell us
and
about that.
yeah, we have one and a half of the 83s, but the 83 is obviously a really special car to us. There were 43 produced, 41 and a half are in existence.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
that. I thought it was just one.
yeah, no, so there's one and a half. We have one that hangs. It used to hang over the over the entrance at the assembly plant, and when that car was relevant, in the early to mid 80s, they would change the wheels to make it look like the current production year. We got that entire half of the car, and we started just doing some research, pulled one of the side panels off to get to the secondary VIN, and noticed that it was an 83 VIN number. So it's a pretty special piece. It's
So is
cool to
it
have.
the front half, the back half, the driver's
It's
side, the
it's
passenger
the
side?
passenger side half. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's got the
Yeah,
front and the rear wheel.
they literally cut the car right down the middle and put it up on a big metal plate to hang on a wall.
So you said there's what, 41 actual 83 Corvettes out
There were
there?
41 that were produced, or sorry, 43 produced, 40, there's only one and a half in existence.
So they crushed the other ones.
Crushed, shredded, disassembled, cut up. Yeah, they,
Okay, so all these years I've been saying that there's only one 83 Corvette. That's kind of true,
yeah, I mean, there's one full 83 Corvette.
but they actually made 43. That's amazing. I had no idea that they made that many. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a guy at the plant named Ralph Monteleon. He will probably listen to this, but he was responsible for the destruction of those vehicles, and he ended up saving this car because he didn't want his brand new cowboy boots to get dirty, and this car ended up just kind of being pushed in a
I
corner.
need to talk to him. We need to
Yeah,
get him on. That sounds amazing.
yeah, it's a great
Wow.
story.
Yeah, because you always hear about, in the 60s and the 50s and, like the, what were they called? The 1953 GM Motorama
The
cars,
Motorama, yeah,
being sent to, a junkyard to be crushed. And they were, some of them survived. And Joe Bortz found them,
yeah,
30 years later, dug them out, because people are like, these things are historical artifacts. Now, a lot of those cars were actually crushed and we never
yeah.
saw them again, unfortunately. So hearing it from the man that's crushing the cars, that's pretty interesting.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll
Now,
gladly make
for
make that.
for my listeners that aren't aware of why there's only one, tell us, why is there only one 83 Corvette in existence?
Yeah, I mean there were several reasons. One, there were some crash safety standards that weren't necessarily achieved on the 83 Corvette. It was a flat dash, so the entire dash was flat, and it has what we call a bread box on the passenger side. And so on the 84 and up to 89 Corvettes, there's this big bread box that says Corvette, and it's a crash pad. So if you were to be in the car, get into a collision, and you were to hit the dash, that pad is supposed to soften the blow. But so that car originally didn't have that in 1983, and so there were some crash safety standards that weren't achieved, but then also some EPA items that needed to be met. It also came out with a motor, the crossfire fuel injection, that had its issues. And the 82 Corvettes had that motor, then 84 Corvettes had that engine. But it had some just inherent issues with being a new type of fuel injection system. But ultimately they did retrofit our 83 with that that bread box. Um, but it's also pretty cool. Our car, it's got a one-off set of prototype wheels that never made production in '84, and it would have been the standard wheel if it was in 1983.
Yeah, and was it also had to do with switching over the tooling of the factory, or no? Or is that an urban legend?
No, it's definitely part of it. So when the Corvette plant moved here in '81, they were still producing the C3, the third generation Corvette. So to only produce that car for 1 year in Bowling Green, it was an investment that probably should have waited until the '84 Corvette was ready, or the '83 Corvette was ready. But there was definitely some tooling issues at the plant that delayed that production.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So this feels really good. I haven't talked about Corvettes in such a long time on this podcast, so this feels good. I'm a big fan of Corvettes. And so my uncle has a 67 Corvette. Nothing real special, base engine, but it's got factory AC, side pipes, 4-speed, and he bought it in 1974. And so
Wow,
he's been showing it since then, and I've been drooling over it ever since I knew what a car was. And he still has it, and I'm like,
that's awesome.
you could put that in your will to me. He's like, no, it's going to my daughter. I'm like, oh man. Uh, anyways, just love them. So why don't we play a little game here? I just thought of this. So why don't you tell me, I'll go first, your favorite Corvette from every generation.
Okay.
And so that's kind of tough. For C1, I used to love the 58s. And I like the chrome, I like the extra stuff, I like the quad headlights. As I learned more about Corvettes, everybody talks about the 57 being like the most pure form of the V8, And so now I'm like, all right, I think my favorite is a 57 Fuelie. But 56 had the dual quads, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Virtually identical appearance wise, though. But yeah, the dual quads, 57 fuel injection, that was a big deal. It brought the horsepower to meet the cubic inches, 1 to 1, and not many cars had that had that, I guess, clout. So that was a pretty big deal for Chevrolet and for Corvette to have that
Yeah.
283
So I'm
cubic
gonna pick,
inch.
I'm gonna say a 57. I like the silver with the white cove and the red interior. That would be my
Yeah.
pick. What would be your pick?
I'm not far from you. So a 57 airbox car would probably be
So you're gonna go
what I
super
would pick.
rare stuff. I'm like, then
Yeah.
I'll be like, darn it, I should have said airbox. No,
But
okay, 57 airbox car.
that car to me with the seal wheels and those smaller hubcaps, to me it just looked mean. It brought a presence to it that was different than just a normal road car in a Corvette from '57. But great lines, just a great performance model for Corvette.
Yeah, yeah, that's really great. All right, so and to be clear, I'm not just picking the rare stuff for value because I could
Yeah,
like for C2s I could say, well, I want a Z06 63,
sure.
But for C2s, I'm going to go with a 67. That's my favorite year. I'm going to go with the big block because I like the Stinger hood. I'm going to go with the coupe, but I'm not going to go with the big 435 horsepower engine. I'm going to say like let's keep it streetable, maybe a 400 horsepower engine. I don't know, what is it? 390, 400, 435,
Yep.
something like that. And obviously 4-speed car. I'm going to have to do Marina blue because that was my uncle's what he has. I love that color with white interior, which I don't think they actually offered in Marina blue, but that would be my choice. How about you?
It's a great choice. For me, I'm probably going 65 396. It's the
One
first,
year only.
yeah, 1 year only. I think it's just a great transition year to that big block. It was a big deal, when Corvette got the big block. I would probably pick color wise silver with red interior.
Oh, so okay. That's a tough one because I'm just thinking about I was in Rick Hendrick's collection not long ago, and I think I counted 37 67 big block Corvettes, and it had the
Yeah,
rarest color combos, black with the blue hood stinger, stinger
yeah,
hood and blue interior, and yeah, I think even one of them had a red stinger hood, and just the most craziest, rarest color combo.
yeah.
The one that stood out, which I would never pick, is the Mary Kay car. So it was the only 67 big block that was sold in primer
Right.
because Mary Kay was going to paint it pink. And so that car is in primer now, and they added, not factory correct, but they added a white, I painted a white Stinger hood, I think that's what it was. But
Interesting.
yeah, so I don't want my car in primer, even though it's rare. So again, with the silver with the red interior, okay.
Yeah, was that a Copo car technically, or
Probably, yeah, I think it was actually.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll throw a picture up here
that's
of
pretty
the
cool.
cars. It's just insane, those cars. So,
Yeah,
all right, why don't you pick the we have 8 generations, so let's
get
move
through
it a
this.
little, let's try to move a little faster. But why don't you pick this your C3?
Yeah, 69 convertible, red interior, red top, or red exterior, red interior, white top, 4 speed, small block, 350, 350.
Why not the 68?
68 was that kind of unique transition year. So it had the C2 chassis underneath it, 327. It's one of the harder cars to restore, and with the C3 model because it's a one off,
Oh,
and
interesting. Okay. Well, I'm
you had
going to
the
switch.
push button
Yeah.
door opening versus the drop down as well.
Well, they also had the dash ignition
Yeah,
versus the column, which was
that's right.
69. All right, I'm switching mine to 69. I was going to say 68. All right, I'll pick the same as you. All right, how about for C4s?
C4, that's tough. It's ZR1 or Grand Sport, but I would probably go Grand Sport.
Yeah, so I would go Grand Sport, the one of the 50 with the red interior, the convertible.
Yes.
That's what I would
Yeah.
pick. All right, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right, C5s. Now, I haven't really thought about this one so much. I need to think about my C5. C5, what would you pick? I actually no, I know. Okay.
Yeah, I would pick an '04 Le Mans edition. Just that blue with the carbon fiber hood. Great car, and it was about darn perfect.
I'm not even aware of that car. Okay, I would pick the fixed head coupe, what, the Z06.
Yeah, Z06.
I'd have to do
Which
red, black and
which
blue.
year would you pick?
What would you recommend?
I would not get the '01. That's 385 horse. '02 and up was 405.
Okay.
So I would recommend one of those.
I actually have seen that car in yellow, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'll
It's
pick
a
a yellow one.
yeah.
All right, it gets a little difficult with C6. I've got two big ones. How about I go first? I would pick the one of six. What is it? The Pratt Miller carbon fiber car. I know
Yeah,
like Jay Leno has one. I mean, that's probably what I would pick. But isn't C6 when they had that carbon edition?
they did have this carbon edition, and so it was gray or black, and then it had this really great decal on it. But I'm drawing a blank on what year that was.
I think I'd
And
have to pick the Pratt, whatever that's called, because that's a special engine, all sorts of crazy stuff, right?
the C6 RS was incredible,
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. Yeah,
yeah.
I would agree. That's a neat car. If I'm going production car, I'll probably pick the '09 ZR1.
Yes, that's a great one. What color?
I would go Jetstream Blue, like the
Okay.
car that fell in the sinkhole.
Yeah, yeah. I saw one recently in like a dark maroon, and I just thought, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, let's move on to C7s. What would you pick for a C7? I know your answer. Can I guess your answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to say 2019 ZR1 manual. Okay.
100%. Yes.
We picked the same. What color would you?
I'm not typically an orange fan, but I would probably get the orange.
I
It
was going
just,
to say the orange. Yeah, I don't know that I would. I've seen those things in white, believe it or not, and they look
yeah,
really wicked in white.
they look great.
All right, how about C8s? I could guess your answer on this one too.
Surprisingly, I would not pick the ZR1X.
Too much horsepower?
I'm scared of it. It's a lot of car. The recently unveiled Grand Sport.
Oh, that thing is cool. That's a special one-off engine, right?
Well, it's going to be the base motor also in the Stingray. So it's going to replace the current setup so that LT6 is going to make its way into the Stingray as well. So but I love the wider hips, like the wider car, the wider stance, the different wheel options. But much like the 96 Grand Sport, I love my dream car is a 63 Grand Sport. And so I think the Grand Sport lineage is to me the perfect Corvette.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I would honestly, I would probably just have to pick that new crazy ZR1X or whatever it's called. That thing's nuts. The only
Yeah,
experience I have is I drove my friend's Z06, and it was a 70th anniversary one, which is super cool because it was white with the silver, light silver stripes, white interior.
beautiful
Oh,
car.
I just fell in love with that car, and I said, this is the perfect car because it's a hard top.
Right.
roadster. You got all the horsepower you want, high
Yep.
revving engine. I just fell in love with that car. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So, and
Yep.
one of the prettiest cars ever
Oh,
built.
for sure. Absolutely. That tricolor paint is just special.
Yeah, yeah. Well, before we move on, I do have another fun game I want to play with you, and I did not give you a heads up, so hopefully you're okay with it. Otherwise, we'll edit it out. But what's the best way for our listeners to learn about NCM insurance?
Yeah, so real simple. If you go to ncminsurance.com, complete information is on our site. You can click on get a quote. It'll send us the information that we need to put that quote together. Now, the cool thing with us is we do have the ability to shop this to multiple carriers. So our goal is to provide the best coverage at the best price, and then ultimately the best service that hopefully they'll ever experience when buying the dreaded insurance. But we are, or they can give us a call back up at 877-678-7626.
Awesome. And there'll be links in the podcast as always, so you can always check the description and learn more there as well. Okay, so I did not give you a heads up about playing Keep Cash and Crush. So this is the game where I give you three cars. You have one you keep forever, one that you cash in, and one you send to the crusher, unfortunately. Now, I picked these cars out before we talked about our favorite cars by generation. And strangely enough, two of the three I picked were cars you picked out. So, so this will be interesting. All right, so the three cars are a C6 ZR1 red, a C4 Grand Sport convertible with the red interior, and the curveball is a C2, a 67 base 427, but it's got the wrong motor. So from a
Okay.
value perspective, they're all within probably 10 or 15 grand of each other. So it comes down to passion. Which one would you keep forever? Which one would you cash in? And unfortunately, which one would you send to the crusher? This is really hard.
It's extremely hard. And I'm going to upset some people, some customers and friends.
That's good. That's a great lead in.
Right. Man, the one I would, so keep, crush,
Keep
or
cash and
keep
crush.
cash or crush. Okay.
People
So
usually start with the crush first because that's the hardest band-aid to rip off, but you don't have to.
yeah, I
And we're
would
not actually crushing
probably,
any cars. It's all theoretical.
yeah, thank God, thank goodness. I would probably crush the 96 Grand Sport.
Okay. Why?
Well, I mean, they're just not, they're a lot harder to get in and out of.
Oh, I love how you're struggling. That's awesome.
It is a, yeah, very difficult. Um, what I would keep, probably the 67,
Even with the wrong engine.
even with the wrong motor.
Okay.
Um, and I would cash in the ZR1 because it's just bringing crazy money.
Yeah, they really are. They,
Yeah.
that's a cool collection to have if you have, one
Yeah.
of each generation, that's a cool collection.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about the ZR2. Why do you think that is? Isn't the ZR2 a little rarer? Wasn't
It,
the ZR1 a small block, the ZR2 a big block?
yeah, that is correct. But I think just because of the quantity of cars produced, they're just a lot harder to,
There's only like two of them, right? Or
yeah,
very, very.
they're unobtainable. And so you see it pop up in forums and people saying that their neighbor, has one, and but yeah, there's only two in existence, and they're just not shown a whole lot anymore. So
Yeah,
they're just not,
yeah.
not in our forefront of events that we attend or that we see frequently.
And from a branding perspective, ZR1 is better than ZR2.
Yeah, for sure,
Like, oh,
absolutely,
here's a ZR8. So,
right. Yep.
well, Adam, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for supporting the podcast and the book as well. So, when you see the book, everybody, you'll see a nice ad from Adam in the book. So, please support NCM Insurance. And like I said, you can find all the information and the details attached. Really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Greg, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. I love reading what your blogs and your emails. Your Ferrari perspective was wild, and it was great. So that Mecum auction was fun to attend.
No, part of me wishes I was there, and part of me was glad I wasn't there. You know, that
Right.
kind of thing. And no, I really appreciate it. I tell people if I send you a newsletter, I don't want it to be a waste of your time, and so I try to make it at least entertaining, if nothing else.
Absolutely. No, it's great.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.